What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we are going to be showcasing a weapon that just became available to get within Destiny 2 Season of Defiance. And this weapon is getting a ton of hype. People are saying this just might be one of the best PvE primary weapons in the entire game, and arguably the best void PvE primary in the game, full stop. And they honestly might be right. And so, let's get started. Now, the weapon in question is the Hero's Burden SMG. This is dropping from the Iron Banner, which has just gone live this week for the first time this season. Now, I did do a video on the two new weapons added to the loot pool and their god rolls. Definitely, guys, check that out if you haven't. It's linked up above. But in addition to adding those two weapons back into the loot pool, Bungie also updated the roles of the existing weapons, and the Hero's Burden was one of them. So even though you could earn this weapon in the previous seasons, it has new perks. And the one that is really causing the hype is this one right here, Destabilizing rounds. This is a brand new perk just added this season, and it says final blows cause nearby targets to become volatile. Not many weapons have this perk. In fact, the Hero's Burden is the only primary weapon in the entire game that can get destabilizing rounds. Now, you guys know volatile rounds is one of the most powerful things you can be doing in PvE. Right now, void builds are absolutely popping off in PvE content, especially thanks to void being one of the featured elements this season, and the fact that the seasonal artifact has some absolutely beyond busted perks that actually improve void even more so, such as volatile flow. Hey, you pick up an orb of power that you want to be doing anyways because you're getting armor charged. Yeah, now you get volatile rounds. Like, absolutely incredible, and again, so darn powerful. I have ran void machine guns for the majority of this season in PvE content because they're so darn good. But this is saying, no, you don't have to do any shenanigans, right? You don't have to put special fragments on your build. You don't have to even have this perk selected. You just use this weapon, you get a kill, and then we're making enemies volatile. And so again, this is getting a ton of attention. Volatile rounds was kind of like the one thing that you couldn't get a weapon with. Like, you can have Jolt on weapons, you can have Scorch with Incandescent on weapons. Volatile rounds was left out until now. So a lot of people are just saying that, you know, the Hero's Burden basically automatically has volatile rounds. That isn't exactly true. Let's go over the exact differences here. So, with destabilizing rounds, how it specifically works in game is the following. The first enemy you engage is totally normal. It's like you're shooting him with, you know, a kinetic weapon, a weapon that has no effects at all. Then when you kill that enemy, there's going to be a little bit of an explosion. As you can see, this isn't a damaging explosion, but it will affect nearby enemies and, as you can clearly see, make them volatile. Then you have to kill those volatile enemies, and when you do, they will explode with a volatile explosion and damage nearby enemies. And with that volatile explosion, remember, you've killed that enemy, you know, with the Hero's Burden in this scenario, so it's going to potentially make other nearby enemies volatile, and you can kind of keep chaining over and over again, and the Hero's Burden can absolutely decimate large groups of adds in seconds. So, the big difference between destabilizing rounds and actual volatile rounds is that there's essentially no setup with volatile rounds. When you shoot a target with a volatile rounds weapon, as you can see, that enemy itself becomes volatile, and then killing that first initial enemy will cause the volatile explosion that will potentially hit nearby enemies and kill them. Now, the next question is, well, do you get any benefit for using a destabilizing rounds weapon in combination with volatile rounds? And like, you will actually see kind of two explosions go off, the destabilizing rounds and then the volatile rounds, but again, that first destabilizing explosion doesn't cause any damage. However, where it may come up is that, again, with destabilizing rounds, you affect nearby enemies with volatile. So normally, with actual volatile rounds, the only thing affecting nearby enemies is the actual volatile explosion doing damage. You're not necessarily going to make those nearby enemies volatile if they don't die from that explosion, right? You'd actually have to put on an aspect such as controlled demolition for the Titan right here in order to do that, where volatile explosions make other targets volatile. Destabilizing rounds, when you have volatile rounds, is kind of like having controlled demolition, because you're killing those enemies with, the hero's burden, and it's causing the damage, but also causing that volatile spread effect. So that's actually pretty darn good. But another reason why volatile rounds is so good is that it improves your single target DPS. As you can see right here, when I'm fighting, the actual Lost Sector boss, obviously I can't kill this guy quickly, but what I can do is that with volatile rounds, as you can see, when damage builds up, it will actually cause volatile explosions on that singular big target and damage that target with additional volatile explosions. So you don't actually have to kill a volatile target for that volatile explosion. Again, you can build up damage and cause that explosion for extra deeps, and that is obviously a huge factor. Can destabilizing rounds do that? Well, it turns out, yes, it can. As you can see, if I make an enemy volatile and then I just lay into them with the hero's burden, they will explode before they've actually died. And often this results in their death, right? They're getting their own volatile explosion damage. However, the big difference is that unlike normal volatile rounds that will instantly reapply volatile to that target after the explosion, the destabilizing rounds don't. It goes away, and you would have to shoot another nearby target to spread volatile to that big target and then lay into them again, right? So that is definitely a downside. But at the end of the day, still, making targets volatile with destabilizing rounds is just so darn powerful, especially when you start considering the synergies you can apply with a destabilizing rounds primary. Let me give you a great example here. Right now, my favorite hunter build to run, and what I've been running since this was actually a thing, is the Gear Falcons, okay? This chess piece says that if you break invisibility, you get volatile rounds. And what you do is you combine it with the stylish executioner aspect, so that means you come out of invisibility, you have volatile rounds, you kill a volatile target, you go invisible. Then you come out of invisibility, you get volatile. You can chain invisibility and volatile back and forth over and over again to get essentially infinite volatile rounds. But with the hero's burden, as you can see, if I have stylish executioner on, I can kill a volatile target and boom, it makes me invisible. And then I just need to kill another volatile target and it's going to make me invisible every single time. So if you're one of the many people who have been running a Gear Falcons Void Hunter build, you can potentially take the Gear Falcons off, free up your exotic slot, and then just use your hero's burden with Destabilizing as the way to trigger the stylish executioner invisibility combo. And guys, that's exactly what I did. That's what you're seeing in the background gameplay. I'm using the Orpheus rigs instead for, just being able to spam my super as much as possible. And I have a build that feels almost identical to the Gear Falcons. I am constantly getting volatile and then also chaining invisibility whenever I really want it. It is just such a powerful thing to do. And again, I don't have to use a specific exotic to actually do that anymore. Another synergy here is the fragment that can actually spawn void breaches for killing volatile targets. Well, destabilizing rounds will trigger that as well. And guys, combine that with the fragment that gives you Devour for picking up a void breach so you can heal every single kill, and you've got some of the most powerful things that you can possibly do on a void subclass, all enabled by this one perk on this submachine gun. Now, it should be noted, if you are running a Void build that is already built for getting volatile, for example, you have the fragment where if you get a grenade kill, you get volatile rounds, and you're running, a Titan armamentarium to get 2 grenades to enable that, stuff like that, you won't necessarily need destabilizing rounds. And in that case, something like this Unforgiven that has Demolitionist to get those grenades back faster, heck, even combined with Adrenaline Junkie for more damage, that's going to be a more effective weapon. But there's there's no doubt about it. The fact that we have one Void primary in the entire game that can get destabilizing rounds, and the fact that that primary itself is the hero's burden, an SMG with fantastic stats, already a good weapon, is a huge deal. And for a lot of builds out there, it is going to be the best in slot choice. Like if you're running, especially if you're running certain Void builds, I think this is a clear insert into those builds. And in fact, you know, this weapon is so unique and so powerful that it's actually going to enable new builds to come about. Again, a Gear Falcon less stylish Executioner Hunter build, I don't think that's really possible without destabilizing rounds, and now it's really a thing that ups its consistency. So really awesome weapon, 100% go after it. In terms of what other perks you should be looking for, well, I actually lucked out and did also get Feeding Frenzy, and that is definitely what you should pair destabilizing rounds with, just being able to get that fast reload, have as much weapon damage uptime as possible. For the other perks, it doesn't matter as much, maybe an extended mag perk or something like that, or heck, even just stuff to improve the stats is going to be fantastic. But guys, as a result, I hate to say this, but even if you're a PvE player who does not like Iron Banner, you might have to go in and play this week to try to get this Hero's Burden roll. It is that unique and that powerful. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.